Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 18th of December 2023. In today's newspaper analysis, we are going to cover a mapping topic that has been in news, and also we are going to cover articles from various sections from the newspaper. We are going to cover these articles from the UPSC Prelims and Mains exam perspective. And today there have been many articles, and those articles, most of those articles are very much relevant. Okay, so articles that have been covered, that will be covered today, will be covered in a deep manner. Okay, so let us see the list of articles that we are going to cover. Right, so these are the articles that we are going to cover in today's newspaper analysis. So with this, let us first start with the mapping topic today. All right, so today we want to see the Strait of Bab el Mandeb. Okay, so where is Strait of Bab el Mandeb located? We are going to see that one. Okay, because like in today's newspaper, there is an article in the editorial section. That article says the stormy Red Sea, the complexities of the global events. Okay, so we are going to see a strait that has been in news, and this strait is in news because of some tensions around this strait. Okay, so as we discussed in our previous discussion also, a strait is a narrow channel of water that connects two water bodies. Okay, it's a geographical feature, it's a narrow channel of water. So when we talk about the Strait of Bab el Mandeb, so this is the location of the Strait of Bab el Mandeb. This is the Strait of Bab el Mandeb. It connects Red Sea, right, with the Gulf of Aden. Okay, so on one side there is Red Sea, on the other side there is Gulf of Aden. Okay, so these two features are being connected by the Strait of Bab el Mandeb. Okay, so as we can see, this Strait of Bab el Mandeb is located to the right of the Horn of Africa. The Horn of Africa includes the countries like Somalia, Djibouti, Ethiopia and Eritrea. These are known as, let's say, like, Horn of Africa countries. So just if we see the Strait of Bab el Mandeb, so it has its borders with Djibouti as a country and also with Eritrea to the south side. And if we see to the northern side, there is Yemen. Okay, there is Yemen. So this is Strait of Bab el Mandeb. It is, let's say, connecting Red Sea with the Gulf of Aden, and it is separating, let's say, Arabian Peninsula from Horn of Africa. So this is important. All right. So we have included another map also for your purpose, so that you can clearly see where is Strait of Bab el Mandeb located. On one side we have Red Sea, on the other side we have Gulf of Aden. So having understood this, let us quickly go to the first article of the day. We are going to discuss this article. This article is, let's say, like, from Indian polity and social justice point of view, we are going to understand about this article. The article says an uphill struggle to grow the Forest Rights Act. Okay, an uphill struggle to grow the Forest Rights Act. So in this article, we are going to understand about what is Forest Rights Act and what are the complexities that are associated with the implementation of the Forest Rights Act. And in this article, the author has taken a critical point of view, where the author has listed down some of the difficulties that people are facing in getting their rights recognized by the government. And not only this, the author has also went to the, let's say, historical past related to how injustices have been done to the indigenous communities, to the people, let's say, like, who are indigenous people, like who reside in forest lands and all. So we are going to understand about the history of the Forest Rights Act. We are going to understand about the present context. We are going to discuss about the complexities that people are facing in getting their rights recognized, and also we are going to discuss about the way forward, what can be done so that, like, these people can see their rights, let's say, recognized by the government and other authorities. So let us quickly start the discussion on this topic. Name of the topic is topic number 1. It says an uphill struggle to grow the Forest Rights Act. An uphill struggle to grow the Forest Rights Act. Forest Rights Act. So when we talk about the context of this article or relevance of this article is, when we talk about relevance, it is relevant with GS paper 2 of the mains exam. GS paper 2 of the mains exam under Indian polity, right? Indian polity and social justice point of view, okay, and social justice. So this is how this article is important. So we are going to understand this article from the exam point of view. So what is the main idea that we are discussing in this article, and this forms the context of this article also. So the main idea is an act. Which act? We are going to discuss about the scheduled tribes and other traditional dwellers, right? The scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers. The scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act. Recognition of Forest Rights Act. Recognition of forest rights. Okay, Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006. So we are going to discuss about this act, the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act. So let us understand when this act was enacted for the first time. So this particular act was enacted for the first time in 2016. It was passed, let's say, like on December 18, 2006 in Rajya Sabha. And soon after this was passed, this act started being recognized as Forest Rights Act. Okay, this is recognized as Forest Rights Act. So this is the common name of this act, in short FRA, Forest Rights Act. So this is how we recognize this act. So this act was enacted for the purpose of recognizing the rights of the people, rights of the tribal people who reside in the forest areas. What rights? We under this act, the rights, for example, like if we talk about what rights are being recognized, so rights related to, let's say, like, number one, rights related to inhabitation, right? Inhabitation, or like rights related to residing in forest area. Second right, rights related to minor forest produce, right? Second right, rights related to minor forest produce. Rights related to ownership, right? Rights related to land ownership, etc. Right? So there are many rights that are associated with those people who reside in the forest areas, right? Whose fathers, forefathers have been living in the forest areas. So this particular right, let's say, tries to recognize them. It has been, let's say, constitutionally approved, in the sense, let's say, it became an act, right, through the Parliament of India. It is an act, and so this act needs to be recognized. But the thing is, even after many years, right, it has been 17 years since this act was passed, still, let's say, like, its recognition has not happened, let's say, like, at all levels in the country. So it is still in the nascent stage. It is still in the beginning stage for giving rights to the traditional forest dwellers, right? So in this article, the author has talked about historic injustice. What? Author has discussed about a very important aspect related to this. This important aspect is called as historic injustice. So we are going to discuss about that historic injustice, right? So let's quickly move to another tab. So let's discuss about what are the historic injustice that has happened to these people. Historic injustice. Let's discuss about it. So when we talk about these people have been, let's say, like, historically injustice have been, let's say, meted to these forest dwellers people, it is because of a concept. It is because of a concept. Which concept? This concept says the concept of eminent domain. What? Concept of eminent domain. What do we mean by the concept of eminent domain? according to the concept, it is recognized that the ultimately the owner of all the property is the ruler. Okay, according to this particular eminent domain concept, that the ruler always owns all the property. It says that the ruler always owns all the property. So what has happened when Britishers came to India? These Britishers, let's say, started ruling in India, and they have enacted legislations for their own sake, for their own welfare. So in 1978, Colonial Indian Forest Act was passed. Okay, in 1878, sorry. So Britishers passed an act in 1878. This is the, let's say, colonial version of this act, which is Forest Rights Act was passed, right? Forest Rights Act was passed when Indian Forest Act was passed. Indian Forest Act was passed, and this Indian Forest Act essentially gave, let's say, titular right or the ownership right of the forest to the eminent domain. Means all the forests were were, let's say, to be administered in the name of the queen. Means eminent domain, the ruler was the head or owner of all the property. This was the thing. So historically, injustice has been meted out to these people, and in this article the author has, let's say, numbered these injustices, right? Author has pointed about, let's say, about 8 points to finally say that what kind of injustice has been given to meted to these people. First, now that the forest was seen as a primary timber resource, shifting cultivation was banned. So what were the injustices? So we are going to quickly understand about these injustices one by one. Okay, so list of injustices that are associated with the recognition of the Forest Rights Act. Number 1, shifting cultivation was banned. Okay, shifting cultivation was banned. This is a very important phenomena that happened. Okay, shifting cultivation was banned. Second injustice is related to so-called survey and settlement of agricultural lands was incomplete and biased in favor of the state. Okay, so survey and settlement of agricultural land, survey and settlement of agricultural land was incomplete, right? It was incomplete and it was biased towards the, let's say, ruler or towards the state. That was the second injustice that is done to these people. Third injustice, simultaneously to ensure labor for forestry operations, forest villages were created, wherein forest lands were leased for agriculture household in return for compulsory or virtually bonded labor. Okay, so now what has happened, they have, let's say, leased out the forest lands. Okay, so forestry operations were created, forest villages were created. So they have created forest villages, and after creating forest villages, let's say, in exchange for giving forest, they have, let's say, created bonded laborers. Bonded laborers were created. Okay, so people were made bonded laborers. So that was the fourth injustice that was done, like third injustice. Fourth is, since forests were now state property, all access to forest produce was limited, temporary and chargeable, and always at the mercy of the forest bureaucracy that was armed with police powers. Any concession to local livelihood needs were tempted privileges that could be modified or withdrawn at any time. So what has happened, forest was considered as a state property, right? Forest was considered as a state property. Since forest was considered as a state property, So any access to the forest was said privileges, okay, they were said as privileges. And the thing is, access to forest was restricted, right? Access to forest was restricted. So this has happened, okay, access to forest was restricted. So this is another problem that we faced related to, let's say, like, recognition of the forest rights. And the fifth, even where access was permitted, the local community had no right to manage the forest, as the state logged valuable forest and made heavily used forest de facto open access. Okay, so what has happened, like, access to forest was heavily restricted. Access to forest heavily restricted because of ownership was transferred to the state. That was another problem. And apart from this, many other thing has been done. Okay, so like, states were created as zamindari states, and many other things were done. So finally what has happened, like, these people who were traditional forest dwellers, these people did not see their rights properly. Let's say, like, they were not able to enjoy the rights that were actually mentioned under the Forest Rights Act of 2006. So what is the thing? In this article, basically they have discussed about the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. So these additional provisions were also made by the government. Why? Because they wanted to conserve the forest. For the purpose of conservation of forest, again, right, many people were displaced from their own land. Okay, many people were displaced from their own land, and since these people were displaced, now these people did not have any right. So there was no one who could bargain with the state, who could, let's say, like, come in terms with the state so that their voices can be heard. So this is how, let's say, like, people have to go for an uphill struggle to get their forest rights recognized. Okay, so this is the thing. In this article they have mentioned many things. So this is a very important article. So finally in this article the author says that political opportunism, okay, political opportunism, forester resistance and bureaucratic apathy have affected the act, which seeks to create a more democratic structure of forest governance. So this act, Forest Rights Act, seeks to create a democratic structure for forest governance. However, there are many problems that we are facing. One thing is political opportunism, second is, let's say, forester resistance, and there is bureaucratic apathy. The bureaucrats are also not willing to provide any kind of right to the, let's say, like, forest dwellers. So this is what is happening. So what we need to understand here, that the Forest Rights Act is an important act that needs to, right, that needs to be made more strengthened, so that, like, forest dwellers actually get the benefit of the existing Forest Rights Act. So with this, let us quickly move to another article. In this article, basically we will talk about the stormy Red Sea, the complexities of the global events. So what has happened, as we discussed yesterday we did a mapping of the Red Sea. So basically Red Sea is a region which is very much connected with the with the Arabian Peninsula, or on one side we have Arabian Peninsula that includes, let's say, countries like Saudi Arabia, Yemen and Jordan, etc., right, on the eastern side. On the western side of Red Sea we have the African countries. So what has happened, the Red Sea has been a region through which, let's say, huge number of merchant vessels, right, or cargo ships used to pass through, and these were for commercial purposes. So there used to be freedom of navigation, and through the Red Sea there used to be, let's say, locations. Which locations? For example, Strait of Bab el Mandeb, right, as we discussed in the beginning today, right, and also we have Sinai Peninsula. Then we have, let's say, like, nearby Sinai Peninsula we have, like, let's say, Gulf of Aqaba. We have Gulf of Suez Canal is there. So through these routes, basically what happens, through these routes lot of cargo ships pass. But the thing is, in this article they have mentioned that now Red Sea is becoming a region of geopolitical contestation. Why it is becoming a region of, let's say, region of geopolitical contestation? Because of the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Israel-Hamas war is happening somewhere else, but the thing is, like, the Houthis who are based in Yemen, right, so they are backed by Iran. So Houthis have declared a virtual state of warfare with Israel. Why? Because they want Israel should cease fire its operations in Gaza Strip. So in solidarity with the Palestinian people, with the Gaza Strip, the Houthi rebels of Yemen, right? So they have not directly waged a war in Israel, but the thing is like they are halting the access of many cargo ships that are passing through the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aqaba region, or let's say like, in the Bab el-Mandeb, through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. So what these Houthi rebels have started doing, they have started, let's say, capturing, right, those ships that were passing through this region. And since these ships, their passage has been stopped, the thing is it has raised alarm among different countries in the world. Recently, what has happened, even Iran has said to the United States of America not to militarize the Red Sea region, because USA was sending military vessels, right? So recently, some of the pirates, some of the people from, let's say, Houthi rebels, they, released a video. In that video, they have captured an incident where using helicopters, the Houthi rebels have captured a ship, right? A big ship. So this is being discussed in this article. Basically, in this article, they talk about that the region of the Red Sea has become a, let's say, complex region which is being contested. So let us quickly discuss about that. All right. So this is topic number 2 for the day. The stormy Red Sea, the complexities of global event. The stormy Red Sea, the complexities of global events. Let us quickly draw the outline map of Red Sea. Okay, let us quickly draw an outline map of Red Sea. All right. So over here we have a strait. Over here we have a strait, and this strait is known as Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, right? Just to the right here we have a country, let's say like, we have Yemen, we have Saudi Arabia, we have Jordan. Here to the left we have Egypt. Over here, let's say like, we have Eritrea, we have Djibouti. Basically this particular region is, right, we have Ethiopia. Basically this particular region is known as Horn of Africa. Horn of Africa. This is the thing. So this is the region of Red Sea, R-E-D, Red Sea. This is Red Sea. Okay. And here we have Gulf of Aden. This is the location. But what has happened, as we know, that a war is already going on. Which war? Israel-Hamas war. Where is Israel located? Israel is located to the north of it. It is located to the north of it. Over here, let's say we have a peninsula. This is known as Sinai Peninsula. Okay, it is known as Sinai Peninsula. And just to the right of Sinai Peninsula, here we have Gulf of Aqaba. Gulf of A-Q-A-B-A. Gulf of Aqaba. Here we have Gulf of Suez. Gulf of Suez. So this is Gulf of Suez that we have. So just to the north of it, we have here Israel, Palestine, right? So since Israel-Palestine war is happening, Yemen is showing solidarity with the Palestinian people. So anyone who is trying to wage a war, anyone who is trying to supply some material to the Israelis, right, through this route. So that is being halted by Yemen. Okay, in Yemen there is a group which is known as, let's say, like, Houthis. So Houthis, they are Houthi rebel, and they are backed by Iran. They are backed by which country? They are backed by Iran. This is the thing. Okay, they are supported by Iran. But the thing is, there have been a series of warfare between Houthis and Saudi Arabia. Means like in Yemen, Houthi versus Saudi Arabia used to happen, right? Saudi Arabia versus Houthi happened in Yemen. But at this point of time, Saudi Arabia has recently said the United States of America that not to send any, let's say, like, military vessels in this region. So hello, thank you so much for joining, Arun. All right. So this is the region. Okay. So in this article, basically they have named some of the important things. For example, they have mentioned Strait of Bab el-Mandeb that I have drawn. I have shown it also. Then we have seen Gulf of Aden. We have seen Red Sea. What you need to do in your free time, you need to understand about, let's say, the location of Red Sea, which countries surround Red Sea. You need to see the Sinai Peninsula, this particular region, which is considered to be Sinai Peninsula. To the right of it, Gulf of Aqaba. To the left of it, Suez, Gulf of Suez, and here we have Suez Canal. Okay, here we have a canal which is known as SUEZ, Suez Canal. Okay, Suez Canal is there. Okay, so this is the thing, you need to understand this. And here we have Egypt as a country, right? So in this article, basically they discussed about the geopolitics that is happening in the West Asian region. So finally, the author says in this article that the Israel-Hamas war has opened a new front in the Red Sea, which will impact the Asian economies. Why? Because a ship was passing through and it was moving towards India, but that ship was attacked by the Houthi rebels. Although, let's say, India has very less to say in this particular region, because India does not have much presence in the geopolitics in that region, but still, let's say, it impacts the Asian economy. So it is important that, like, we also highlight this particular thing in the international arena, right? So then we have another article. It says 1 person, 1 vote, 1 value. This particular topic is important under GS paper 2. It is important under GS paper 2. We are going to discuss about this article, 1 person, 1 value, 1 vote, 1 value. Why this article is important? So that, like, let's say after reading this article, you will be able to write a topic and answer in the mains exam related to GS paper 2. We will discuss about it. Name of the article is 1 person, 1 vote, 1 value. Okay, 1 person, 1 vote, 1 value. So this is the this is one of the principle on which, let's say, the adult franchise in India is being exercised, right? So the thing is, what is the context of this article? The context of this article is, let's say, free and fair election in India. We want to have free and fair election in India. And in India, we have, let's say, like, 1951, we have Representations of People Act. Representation of People's Act, right? 1951. So Representation of People Act 1951, basically it is an act that recognizes the right of a person to get elected. For example, anyone who wants to contest, let's say, for election in a constituency, they can contest, right? So these things have been mentioned over here in this article. However, what is important for us to understand here in this article, we are going to understand about some of the constitutional provisions, right, related to 1 person, 1 vote, 1 value. We are going to discuss about delimitation exercises. So in the Constitution of India, we have, let's say, like, here, recently we are going to understand about views of a legal scholar. Okay, we are going to understand about views of a legal scholar, right? What views? Basically, this legal scholar, her name is mentioned here, Pamela S. Curlin. Okay, her name is Pamela S. Curlin. I'm just writing Pamela S. Curlin. So what she said, number one thing, she has said that one person, one vote, one value, this thing can be, it is, let's say, a constitutional guaranteed thing. It is a, let's say, political equality in liberal democracies, right? So when we talk about one person, one vote, one value, this one person, one vote, one value, it gives what? Number one, political equality in liberal democracy, okay, in liberal democracy. This is one aspect. Apart from this, this is also in tune with universal adult franchise, okay, universal adult franchisee. Means in India, anyone who attains the age of 18 years or above, that particular person can cast vote, right? He can cast vote, and so his vote, like one person will be able to give one vote, and his one vote will be treated, let's say, will have one value itself, no matter how much educated that person is, no matter, let's say, how much wealth that person is, in spite of his, let's say, sexual orientation, his wealth, his education, every person in India has been given one, let's say, one vote and one value. This is according to the principle of universal adult franchise in India, right? So why it is needed? It is to give political equality in the liberal democracy like India. This is the thing. But the thing is, what are the problems that are associated? What are the challenges, right? What are the challenges that are associated with this? So challenges can be considered to be twofold, okay? Challenges are twofold. So we are going to discuss about those challenges that are associated with this thing. One is known as quantitative dilution and qualitative dilution, okay? So one of the challenges known as quantitative dilution, and the second is known as qualitative dilution, okay? Qualitative dilution. So let us understand what do we mean by quantitative dilution and qualitative dilution. So the thing is, in this article, they have said that quantitative dilution happens when votes receive unequal weight due to huge deviation in the population among constituencies, okay? So votes receive unequal weight. What? Vote receive unequal weight due to variation in population in constituencies, okay? Due to variation in population in constituencies, population in constituencies. This is one important aspect, which is quantitative dilution. So the thing is, like, if there is a big constituency from where only one person will be elected, and there is a constituency which is small in terms of population size, a constituency big population size, another constituency small population size. If that happens, so the thing is, like, the constituency which has a small population size, so their voters, let's say, like, you know, they gain unequal weight, they get more weight as compared to that constituency which has more population. So this leads to quantitative dilution to the principle of one person, one vote, one value. Apart from this, when we talk about qualitative dilution, in this article they have mentioned qualitative dilution happens when a voter's chance of electing a representative of their choice is reduced due to gerrymandering or redrawing of boundaries in favor of a candidate or party, okay, which is gerrymandering, okay. So it says a voter's chance, right? Qualitative dilution happens when a voter's chance it happens when a voter's chance of electing a candidate gets hampered due to, okay, it gets hampered due to gerrymandering. Here they have used the word gerrymandering, which means redrawing of boundaries. Gerrymandering. This is an important thing. It means redrawing of boundaries to favor a candidate or a political party This is the thing. So in this article, basically they have mentioned that the concept of one person, one vote, one value, this is a very important concept in a liberal democracy, because like it gives let's say it is an important instrument for exercising universal adult franchises, so that we can see free and fair election in India. But the thing is, there are challenges also associated with this. One of the challenges, quantitative dilution, other is known as qualitative dilution. So in this article, the author has given multiple examples to, let's say, emphasize on quantitative and qualitative dilution. So here we are going to understand about the constitutional provisions. Okay, we are going to understand about constitutional provisions related to this. Constitutional provisions related to this. This is an important aspect for us to understand constitutional provisions. So number one, the first constitutional provision that we are going to discuss, like there are some articles in the constitution, article 81 and 170. Okay, so like in the constitution they have mentioned article 81 and 170 in the constitution, right, and 170 in the constitution. So these articles, let's say, state that the ratio of the population of the Lok Sabha and state legislative assembly constituencies shall be same as far as practicable. Okay, according to this, let's say ratio of population, right, ratio of population. So this is ratio of population in Lok Sabha, and this is ratio of population in state legislative assembly. They should, in different constituencies, right, related to different constituencies, should be same. Okay, should be same. So these are two provisions in the Constitution of India. These two provisions speak against quantitative, let's say, like, dilution or qualitative dilution. So these are let's say, articles in the Constitution of India. Apart from this, we are going to discuss about some other important thing also. Here, let's say, in this article, they have mentioned about article 327, article 330 of the Constitution, right? So article 327, article 330, article 332 of the Constitution. So these three articles are also mentioned. So article 327 empowers the parliament to make laws related to delimitation of constituencies. Okay, it is related to delimitation of constituencies. Okay, it talks about delimitation of constituencies can be done, right, by the Lok Sabha, like for the Lok Sabha election. This is the thing. When we talk about article 330 and 332, they guarantee reservation of seats for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes in parliament and state legislative assemblies. Okay, these two talk about reservation, right, reservation for SCs and STs, scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, in Parliament and State Legislative Assembly. In Parliament and State Legislative Assemblies. So this is the thing, okay. So here we do have constitutional provisions. In this article itself, the author has talked about that so far the government of India has conducted delimitation exercise only 4 times, okay. So when we talk about delimitation exercise in India, right, we are going to discuss about delimitation exercise. So to understand this, we need to understand what do we mean by delimitation of exercise. Delimitation exercise means redrawing the boundaries of constituencies for state legislative assembly elections and for Lok Sabha elections, okay. Delimitation exercise means redrawing boundaries of constituencies, right, boundaries of constituencies for Lok Sabha, right, for Lok Sabha and state legislative assembly elections. This is the thing. And so far in India, 4 delimitation exercise has been done, right, 4 delimitation exercise has been done. So when these delimitation exercises were done, so in this article they have mentioned 1952, 1962, 1972, 2002. So 1952, 1962, 1972 and 2002. So these are the years when delimitation exercises were conducted in India. And after conducting the delimitation exercises, right, the 42nd Amendment Act in the Constitution of India, right, 42nd Amendment Act in 1976 froze the population, right, figure in 1971 census for the delimitation until after the 2001 election. And since then, no further, let's say, delimitation exercise has happened. And now also it was postponed in 2021. Again, the election did not happen in India, right? Election in the sense like, you know, this thing, I mean, census did not happen. Since census did not happen, so delimitation got, let's say, postponed, okay. So this article is very important. In this article, they talk about the importance of properly exercising one person, one vote, one value, okay. So it says, along with addressing the quantitative dilution of vote value, in the next delimitation commission needs to address qualitative dilution so that minorities are represented more adequately in India. So this article actually emphasizes on the importance of representing the minorities, right, properly in state legislative assemblies and in the Lok Sabha, right. So like, you know, this through this article the author wants to point out to that factor. Then we came across another topic. This is a very important topic. It says on selecting election commissioners, right. This article is very, very important. There is a possibility that, like, you know, UPSC may ask a question on this topic. We are going to discuss about this topic. This is the 4th article. Name of this article is on selecting the election commissioners, right, on selecting the election commissioners, okay, on selecting the election commissioners. We are going to understand about this thing on selecting the election commissioners. So recently what has happened, the Rajya Sabha has passed the chief election commissioners and other election commissioners. So we are going to discuss about what is the act that was passed, and we are going to understand about the context. If we talk about relevance of this article, why this article is important. So this is important under GS paper 2, and this topic is important for Indian polity, okay. It is important for Indian polity. This is a very hot topic, so we need to read about this topic. So recently the Rajya Sabha has passed, right, Rajya Sabha has passed on December 12, which act, a very important act. I'm going to write down the name of this act because, like, over the period of time, you need to remember the name of this act, right? It says election commissioner and other election commissioners, right? It says election commissioner, election commissioner and other election commissioner and other election commissioners. It says the chief election commissioner and other election commissioners, okay, right? The chief election commissioner, the chief election commissioner and other election commissioners, appointment and conditions of office, appointment and conditions of office, appointment and conditions of office and terms of office. And Terms of Office Act, right? Now, Bill 2023, Bill 2023. So Rajya Sabha has passed this recently, so we are going to discuss about this, right? So basically, what is this? So when we talk about the Election Commission of India, this is related to appointment of the election commissioners in the Election Commission of India. So when we talk about the Election Commission of India, the Election Commission of India, so this is a multi-member body. It has 3 persons over here, right? It has 3 persons. So number 1, it has a chief election commissioner, okay? It has a chief election commissioner, and apart from this, it has 2 election commissioners, okay? It has 2 election commissioners. So the Election Commission of India has been mandated to conduct, right, to conduct free and fair election in India, to conduct free and fair election in India. And this Election Commission of India is a constitutional body. Under Article 324 of the Constitution of India, they have mentioned about the Election Commission of India. It says that the Election Commission of India will comprise of a chief election commissioner and 2 other election commissioners. And for this thing, right, for this purpose, basically, right, you know, the government of India has like enacted a legislation, and they are basically like, you know, they have introduced this legislation and they are willing to pass it. It has got passed through the Lok Sabha. But earlier what has happened, the the Supreme Court of India has asked the central government, right? Supreme Court of India has, let's say, given some directions to the central government to enact, right, to enact a act in this regard. And at that time they have said, the Supreme Court of India has said that the the persons who are going to, right, there will be a committee, there will be a body, and this particular committee will recommend the persons to be, let's say, like appointed as the chief election commissioner and election commissioners in India. And that committee will consist of the Prime Minister of India. Second thing, it will consist the leader of opposition, right, leader of opposition party in the parliament. And third, it will consist of the Chief Justice of India, right? So earlier they have said it that meanwhile the central government is enacting legislation in that behalf, that particular committee will have these members. But this particular thing that was, let's say, enacted by the that was introduced by the central government, what it has, according to this thing, they will have a committee, right? They will have a committee, and in that committee there will be the Prime Minister of India, second thing, there will be a leader of opposition member, and third, there will be a cabinet minister. Okay, there will be a cabinet minister. So which is being, let's say, like, contested, which is being criticized by opposition member parties, because, like, Supreme Court of India has given direction. So there the Chief Justice of India was there, but here the Prime Minister of India, leader of opposition, and cabinet minister. This cabinet minister essentially belongs to the let's say, like, ruling party, from which the Prime Minister also comes, right? So like they will be able to appoint a person from their own party, let's say a person who is yes man of the party, a person, let's say, like, who not for everything that the party says. So this is the thing. So it is very important that in this article they have talked about that this proposed law, this law seeks to, right, appoint the people, right, appoint persons as chief election commissioner and other chief election commissioner and other election commissioners, okay, commissioner and other election commissioner. That's the thing. Okay, so this is being actually like criticized. So this topic is important. You need to read about this article. Now let us understand about an article from the point of view of international relations. Okay, so this says what led to the coup attempt in Sierra Leone. So when we talk about Sierra Leone, it is a very, let's say, like, poor country in African region. In Africa, basically there is a community which is known as ECOWAS. So when we talk about ECOWAS means Economic Community of the West African States. So this ECOWAS region includes Sierra Leone also. So in ECOWAS region, there have been many countries on which, let's say, military coup has happened. Military coup means like military personals try to, let's say, let's say, overthrow the democratically elected government, and they may sometimes, let's say, take into custody the democratically elected leaders. So in this article, basically, we are going to discuss about a recent military coup attempt that has happened in Sierra Leone. So Sierra Leone is a country which is part of the ECOWAS region. In ECOWAS, there was another country that was recently in news. Name of that country is Niger. Okay, name of the country is Niger. It was a member of the ECOWAS community itself. There also a military coup has happened recently. And not only this, there are many other countries in, right, many other countries in this region that has seen military coup earlier. And these 6 countries, right, so since 2020, right, within last 3 years, 6 African countries have undergone 9 coups and a coup attempts. Okay, these countries include Niger, Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, Gabon, and Sudan, right? So these countries are under military rule. So recently the ECOWAS region has, let's say, the ECOWAS grouping, they have given a threat also to Niger that, like, you release the hostage, you release the, let's say, democratically elected president, otherwise, let's say, we are going to take action. And in fact, they have taken an action. They have imposed economic sanctions over Niger. Okay, they have imposed economic sanctions over here. So when we talk about the Sierra Leone as a country, it is a very poor country. Here, let's say, the inflation level has gone more than 50%, right, up in the last few months, right? And that's why that country is not economically stable. And since the country is not economically stable, so, like, politically also it is seeing unrest, right? This is the thing. Then we have another article. It says an overview of the European Union's Artificial Intelligence Act. So as we all know that the European Union was the first group of countries that have come up with an act that, let's say, regulates the artificial intelligence development and its usage in the European Union region. And when we talk about artificial intelligence legislation, these legislations are created for the purpose so that the artificial intelligence development happens for ethical purposes. Means all the AI applications should be used for ethical purposes. Their let's say, usage should be fair, and they should not be used for harming the people, right? For harming the people. So in that purpose, the European Union has enacted a legislation, and this legislation is being seen as one of the strongest and first legislation which is related to artificial intelligence. So one of the strongest point of this legislation is that, like, it seeks to, what it seeks to do, it seeks to basically, like, have regulation based on the threat perception. Means an AI system which has more risk associated with it, it will be more strongly regulated as compared to an AI system that has lesser risk associated with it. For example, the AI systems that, that may be associated with diagnosis of human beings, that may be used for, let's say, warfare activities. So they will be properly, or they will be strongly regulated. And what are the objectives of the EU AI Act, European Union Artificial Intelligence Act? So objectives are to create a regulatory framework for AI technologies, mitigate risk associated with the AI systems, and establish clear guidelines for developers, users, and regulators. Okay, so this act is being seen in positive light. Okay, this actually gives some kind of hint to other countries also that are willing to come up with their own AI related act. And recently the government of India has presided over a kind of summit which is related to global partnership on artificial intelligence. And in that summit also they have discussed about how the artificial intelligence should be regulated. All right. So with this, let us quickly move to another article. This article is related to development of nuclear power capacity in India. So in India, in Gujarat, we have Kakrapar, nuclear power stations. So in Kakrapar nuclear power station, they have been building Unit 3 and Unit 4. And Unit 4 has recently been become operational. So it has attained criticality, and they have started operating the, let's say, Unit 4 of the Kakrapar nuclear power plant. So when we talk about this nuclear power plant, so we need to understand that the nuclear technology is also known as dual use technology, right? It is known as dual use technology. Why it is known as dual use technology? Because it can be used for civilian purposes, right? It can be used for civilian purposes, and at the same time it can be used for military purposes. So military purposes means if you enrich nuclear technology, right? If you enrich nuclear technologies, you will be able to create nuclear weapons. That will be a new military objective. That will be to attain military objective. And if you are using nuclear technology for power generation, so that is for civilian purposes. And this particular thing showcases the, let's say, civilian purpose of usage of nuclear technology. So we have, let's say, operationalized one more nuclear power unit, which is located in Kakrapar. Kakrapar is a place which is in Gujarat. It is very near to, let's say, Surat. It is about 80 kilometers from Surat in Gujarat. So the thing is, this nuclear power station is being built by Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. And when we talk about the nature of the nuclear power over here, so it is, they use, let's say, pressurized heavy water reactors. These nuclear power reactors use pressurized heavy water reactors, and they use natural uranium as fuel. What? Natural uranium as fuel, and heavy water as coolant and moderator. This is a very important thing, and this nuclear power station is, let's say, one of the largest in India. Why? Because it is going to generate huge amount of nuclear power, means to the tune of 700 megawatt of electricity it's going to generate. Okay, so that's why it is in news. So what you need to understand, you need to learn about the nuclear power stations, right, in India, where they are located. They are located in 7 different places, and then 23 nuclear power stations, nuclear power stations have been operating in these 7 locations. So this is, let's say, another unit of nuclear power station in Kakrapar. So this Kakrapar was already operational, but unit 1 and 2 were operational. Third became operational very recently, and this is the 4th that has been made operational, let's say, in a day or 2. Then we have another article. This article is related to Andaman and Nicobar Island. So as we know, Andaman and Nicobar Island is a group of islands in the southern portion of India, right? So Andaman and Nicobar Island is a union territory in India. So what has happened in Andaman and Nicobar? Basically, in Andaman and Nicobar Island, there are many people who are residing, they are primitive groups. So they are people from, they can be considered to be aboriginal tribes. However, not only aboriginal tribes reside in Andaman and Nicobar group of islands, but let's say like, some SC communities, scheduled caste communities also reside. But what has happened so far in the Andaman and Nicobar island, whenever a census was conducted, the SC communities were not counted as a group of communities. Okay, they were not counted. Since they were not counted as a group of communities, so they have not been provided good, proper rights. So recently, what has happened, like, in Andaman and Nicobar group of island, they have clubbed the SCs, right? They have clubbed the SC population with the other backward classes category, right? And this will lead to recognition of their rights in the Andaman and Nicobar group of island. This is what is mentioned in this article. They have mentioned about a constitutional body also. This is known as the National Commission for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes. Okay, so the National Commission of Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes, they have, let's say, recognized this as a vital problem in the year of 1999 itself, right? 24 years back, they have recognized this thing, but still, let's say, like, the National Commission for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe, they have come up with a report in 1998-99. They have said that there should be census conducted, right? And this census should account for the other caste groups as well, including the scheduled caste. But that has not happened so far. So in this article, they say scheduled caste were never counted in Andaman. Now a house committee sits up and takes notice of it. Okay, now a house committee is sitting and they are taking notice of it. This is the thing. So this is a short topic. Then we have another very small article. It says, Putin says problem started with Finland after it joined NATO. For Finland, we discussed it's a Scandinavian country, right? So there are 3 Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Finland, and there is, let's say, another one. So we have showcased the map of it, and like if we talk about Nordic country, that includes this Denmark also. Denmark, Sweden, Finland. So these countries are Scandinavian as well as Nordic countries. So one of the country from here, which is Finland, it has joined North Atlantic Treaty Organization. North Atlantic Treaty Organization is an international body. It's an intergovernmental body and it's security based body. This North Atlantic Treaty Organization was set up, right, under Washington Treaty. North Atlantic Treaty Organization was set up under Washington Treaty, right? Washington Treaty. And this North Atlantic Treaty Organization presently has 31 members. And the recent member is, the 31st member is Finland. Okay, 31st member is Finland. So Finland is a country that shares border with Russia also, right, in the northern side. So after it joined, let's say, like, after it joined NATO, what Finland has recently decided, like it has, let's say, like interacted with US, and Finland has decided to give access to 15 of its bases, military bases, to United States of America. So that's why, like, Russian president got, let's say, ached. I mean, like, Russian president is not happy about it. So Russian president has said that, like, just near to Finland, right, in the Russian territory itself, right, in Russian territory itself, they are going to create a military zone. They are going to create a military district, right, over here to, let's say, like, keep a check on the activities that Finland is doing along with USA. Okay. So this is the thing. So Mr. Putin has said that problems started with Finland after it joined NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So this is a kind of geopolitical contestation that is happening in that region. All right. So that will be all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's session. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.